What's up, guys? I'm Matt Reisinger.
I'm Eric Awney.
And in the build show today, since I've got a master plumber in the studio, he's actually here for my 50th birthday party, I thought I would take an old video and review it with Eric. I am not a plumber, but I play one on TV. I like nerding out about plumbing. And I made a video 4 years ago right here called Copper versus PEX versus Shark Bite Freeze Testing. And these are the actual pipes, Eric, from that video.
Yeah.
I learned a bunch on that video. And I thought it'd be really fun to review that video, lessons learned, and also talk about from Eric's experience. You know, he's doing projects up in the very, very cold Minnesota north. I'm not. I'm down here in Texas. A couple of best practices and a few things on this video I think that you maybe didn't realize. So if you're about to build, remodel, repair, replace, and you're worried about frozen pipes, this video is for you. Let's get going. All right, let me tee you up, Eric, before we get going here. This video is from 3-4 years ago, and this is looking like young Matt right here.
Yeah.
Talking about a bunch of different pipe styles. Basically, I took copper, CPVC, and PEX, and then I took traditional sweat-on fittings, and we did a fabulous job of sweating those on, being non-plumbers, as well as some shark bite fittings, put those in a bunch of different flavors and varieties, and then stuck them in a freezer. After about 24 hours, we took them out of the freezer, and I gotta say, I was very, very surprised at some of the results. And I'm curious about your take, Eric. Now, we just have a few of the copper pipes here.
Yep.
Talk to me about what you're seeing here and if this is pretty typical.
First of all, if you don't look too close at the video, because the sweat job, the soldering job here,
Not to the highest craftsmanship standards there.
Was it somebody's first day?
It might have been.
Okay. It's interesting to see the sweat fittings, right? The fittings, they've been around, copper's been around and in use in North America since the 60s for water piping, right? Probably a little bit before that, but very commonly 60s, 70s, we started seeing it in houses. It's interesting to see the fittings didn't fail at all.
Yeah.
The fittings are fine.
On both these samples.
On both of them, yep. But the pipe did. And it takes a lot of force to actually break a pipe like that.
Yep.
You know, that expansion of water is what really we're focusing on here, because when it freezes, it expands in volume.
Yep.
So pretty cool, right?
And do you have any idea, I'm sorry to cut you off, whether this is type L or type M? Copper? Thicker or thinner wall?
It looks like type L to me. It's a thicker wall pipe. So,
okay.
But when it comes to freezing, I don't know that is going to make...
Doesn't really matter.
Not 24 hours in a freezer when it's filled with water, you're going to break type
something.
M or L. Yeah,
Gotcha.
Of course.
Okay.
And then comparing it to the push to connect. So if anybody's not familiar with what push to connect is, or it's likely you are because they're so popular. You can buy these things everywhere. Mm-hmm. It's literally making a seal on the pipe with a dynamic seal, like an O-ring, right? Mm-hmm. Because these things can move. Yep. I can move this one. I'm spinning it right on the pipe, no problem. But there's like a grip ring, stainless steel, that's one direction. So you push the pipe in there after you've done your prep and everything like that, and that stainless steel ring is holding the fitting on the pipe.
It's like a one-way claw from a bear.
Yeah.
Pushing that pipe in and clawing it.
Yep. But the ring, or the O-ring, the dynamic seal there, that rubber O-ring, is what keeps the water on the inside of the pipe.
Got it.
Right? Okay. So these are dynamic. They can be moved and they can be actually removed. Mm-hmm. So you can push it on and take it off. But it's interesting to see your test. So like I'm holding one here. This is the perfectly good fitting still from the test. And here's one that completely like broke into pieces. Yeah, we don't even know where the rest of it is, right?
And I would like to point out, Eric, that I actually did mark with a marker the full depth penetration on there, which is...
It looks like you installed them properly.
High quality craftsmanship right there.
Yeah, and I'm not here to rag on push to connect at all, but it's important because they're super, super popular. You go to any home center, you go online, you start researching plumbing, you're on YouTube, whatever, you're on your channels, you're going to see them all over the place. They're every place.
Yeah.
And my customers are asking me about them all the time. Or I'm there to replace maybe failed installations, whatever. And so they're common in the marketplace. Now, that one came off completely.
This one's cool because if you zoom in, and we'll try and get a good video shot of this, you can see where that
grip
push to connect kind of gripped, and then it was like nails on a chalkboard, and you can see the action on the copper, just pulling off some of the copper. There you go.
There's the
ring right
careful, it's sharp. There's the ring and its teeth, the marks, like you said, it's pretty, knowing what that does and how hard that is to get off there, it's pretty remarkable that it didn't, the pipe didn't fail or anything, the fitting actually blew off.
The fitting actually blew off. So what's your takeaway on this then? Should we never use copper? Should we never use push-to-connect fittings? Do you think that's a takeaway?
No, I think the takeaway is you should never have pipes in walls that might freeze.
There you go.
That's my 25 years in this business advice. I say that too because of where I live, like you pointed out earlier, it's cold. Mm-hmm. We can stay below zero for weeks at a time in the wintertime. Nothing is going to survive in an outside wall if it's got any liquid like water in it, if it's a plumbing pipe. Okay. Doesn't matter if it's copper, doesn't matter if it's PEX, doesn't matter if it's CPVC. Our code actually is very, strictly enforced that we are not allowed to put pipes that with water, water piping in the outside wall, except of course, hose faucets, right? And so that's where you have different options. So you used, this whole assembly was put in the freezer. Mm-hmm. Like there's no frost proof, there's no regular hose. No. That wasn't part of the test, right? No. But if you have to have a pipe go through your outside wall because you want to water your garden, there are other options, right? So.
And I actually, Eric, did another video similar to this one where I said, okay, frost-free hose bibs, what actually happens to them over time? And so I took 3 different flavors. I took one of these, non-frost-free, and put it into a cooler assembly with crazy cold dry ice, basically. I took a brass one like this one here, and then I took an aqua hose bib, which is made out of stainless steel.
Stainless steel, right?
And what I did was the hose bib itself was actually inside the cooler. I put a ton of ice in there, and then they shut off into my this is a couple-year-old video now, but into my office, which was heated and cooled, a couple of inches. And then I had some copper pipe running to them. The results were pretty darn interesting for me as a builder. I was shocked. What did you think about the results?
Well, I saw the video. It's really cool how you made the inside of the cooler kind of like the outdoors, right, with the dry ice. And you saw with the copper or brass quite a bit of temperature or quite a bit of transfer of heat from the inside to the outside. You big, giant clumps of the frost and everything like that. You didn't see any breakage, did you? No,
nothing broke, which was pretty interesting because it was darn cold. I think there was a clip on that video where we got to minus 20 overnight in that cooler. So it's pretty cold. Nothing broke. Nothing froze.
And that's actually a really good detail to point out because you saw more of the transfer of the frozen, clump of ice and everything on the copper and on the brass than you did on the stainless steel.
Yeah, the stainless steel did not conduct a lot of that cold from outside to in or maybe heat from inside to out. And it's interesting to think about that stainless because, we wouldn't use stainless steel cooking pans. We don't do stainless steel wiring in our houses that conduct electricity. It's not a great conductor. So that's a pretty interesting product.
It is. It's got advantages too because of you get into corrosion, things like that. There's it itself has advantages. But now let's go back to Minnesota where it's, 15 below for 3 weeks at a time and we're all miserable. I don't know that this though has any more of an advantage given, length
long
of time.
Winter times.
Right. So that brings me up to what I wanted to talk about too, which you didn't really hit on because the point of your video was to see what failed and what didn't.
What pipes were going to fail.
Yeah. But so you probably have put in shutoff valves like this to isolate a hose faucet, remote connections to your piping, any type of plumbing that might be further away from its source, like the well or the city or the water heater, things like that, right?
Yeah, so I'm in Texas now. We don't typically do shutoff valves anywhere in Texas. We also typically don't have basements. I'll use a frost-free hose bib that will shut off maybe 6 inches into the wall, and that's it. But when I was building in Washington, D.C. in the Northeast, we put a shutoff valve in the basement ceiling, unfinished basement, and I tell my homeowners, hey, make sure you turn the water off to your hose bibs before it gets cold out.
Every winter, every fall.
That's right.
Yeah, you try to set a reminder. Today it's easy because we can put it in our phone, that kind of thing,
that's right.
Okay, but there's a better way to do that. So that's a great ball valve where you're holding the a PEX A ball valve. It's top quality, everything. It is going to shut the water off from one side to the next, but then you have to drain that line out. So if that line is full of water, it's going to expand, right? And that expansion.
So even if it's shut off, you're still going to break the pipe. You just might not have an active flow to the break, which
absolutely,
it's only semi-helpful.
It's a distinct possibility, right? And because it's a long winter, you know, if it stays cold long enough, that pipe might get, transfer that heat to the inside like you saw in your video.
Yep.
Now, this is a different style valve. It may look different, but it's achieving the same exact thing. It's quarter turn. It's a ball valve inside of there. It does have the PEX connections, and we just had a couple of these laying around, so they're perfect examples. But this one's different. It's directional, and it has a shutoff, or it has a drain past the shutoff. On the working side, the part that you're trying to winterize. So this little screw right here on the side, I can just pull it off, no tools required. And I can actually open the faucet outside on the outside of the house, and that will break that vacuum and allow the water to drain back to this valve.
I always call that a bleeder valve. Is that the right term for that?
Yeah. Stop and waste is another valve that we use in the industry, in the plumbing, as just kind of a trade term. But yeah, so this little bleeder on the side is going to break that vacuum. You're going to open your faucet outside, leave it open, and that way now that water is going to drain wherever it, at the outlet and at the source. There might be some water in that pipe, but in the house. Yeah. Right. So we're hoping that drains at the outside wall.
So your advice would be actually use both. Am I understanding you correctly? Use a frost-free hose bib, one that's going to shut off several inches into the wall, but also turn off the water to this to begin with, and then bleed out the 10 feet of pipe, let's say, between here and here inside your house.
Yeah, so a few years ago, Texas had this major catastrophe, once in a lifetime kind of storm happened, right? Things froze. You guys weren't really equipped for it.
It was bad.
But where I live, everything is built to withstand, we know this is going to happen.
Right.
Okay. These are very popular. They're not code required or anything like that. They're just it's a good idea to use this. Your shutoff is in the wall, in the warm conditioned space. Except devices, maybe not, I'm not trying to rag on the maker of this valve or any other valve. They don't last forever. Or somebody might forget to shut them off.
Right.
Okay. You're relying on a really simple design. There's just a little rubber washer back here. There's just a rubber washer in that really cool system there too. That's making that seal. And with water pressure behind it, and age, as this gets older, that seal isn't as reliable as it once was.
Sure, when it's 25 years old.
Yeah. Look, also where I live, I'm going to say this is pretty plain and easy to understand. Once it's so cold outside, there's snow. I don't need my hoses outside.
Right.
Okay, I'm just not going out there. I'm going to watch Netflix. I'm going to watch a build show video, whatever, but I am not washing my car in the driveway.
Yeah.
So shut it off, drain it down. I don't care if you have these. I've told people this for years, and here's my backing on it, ultimately. 25 years, every year, I do so much business, it would make you shake your head. People call every spring. My hose faucet is frozen. It broke over the winter.
And it was one of these?
It was one of these. I can show you piles of them every single year. I'm not saying it just because we're making this video. It's good for business. But I would love for people not to go through the heartache of, it's always over a finished ceiling or something like
gosh,
that.
Terrible.
It's never, in somebody's unfinished basement or crawl space, right?
That's right.
And so, shut it off. At some point in time, these are great because they'll extend your kind of use of your hose a little further into the, late fall, early winter. However, do you.
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you, you're going to call me eventually with a broken pipe if you don't just turn them off and drain them out.
Super smart. All right, I got another question for you before we wrap up the video. In my previous video, that copper PEX dirt bike video, after testing all these, I was really, really impressed that the CPVC and the PEX, if they had an expansion fitting, like an Uponor expansion fitting, or like a Viga press fitting of some variety, or I guess CPVC, they're all solvent-based fittings, none of those pipes broke. What do you think about that? Like, could we almost forget this and just use a flexible pipe like a CPVC or a PEX and not have to worry about all this shenanigans?
Well, I guess, do you like going to Vegas? Are you a big gambling? Right? So maybe how lucky do you want to get, right?
Right.
So the manufacturers of those pipes, they will tell you, it's right in their information on their websites, whatever. Talk to the rep. They're going to tell you if you knew that there was a frozen block and that pipe did expand, because it will.
Yep.
That's what you're getting at, is they will expand a little bit before they break.
Yep.
I'm sure that the pipes in your freezer test, they probably expanded to allow for that and didn't break. But the manufacturers tell you, if you knew about that, they want you to cut that section of pipe out and replace it. It's now compromised. It doesn't have they're not sure that it has the ability to do it again.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And next time it could pop on you.
Yeah, because there's probably going to be a next time. If it happened once and you didn't,
gonna happen again.
Yeah, it's probably gonna happen again. You probably didn't do anything to change it. Maybe you didn't know about it. I'd imagine this has happened a lot of times.
Yeah.
And people don't know about it because they're behind a wall or above a ceiling, something like that.
Interesting, man. So good to have you in studio, Eric.
Thanks, man.
Guys, if you're not familiar with Eric Ani, amazing plumber, mechanical contractor based up in Minnesota. He runs Mechanical Hub, is his Instagram handle. He's also has an amazing podcast. Make the Trades Great Again. Is that the name of your podcast? Yeah. And he's shooting videos over on buildshownetwork.com. One new video typically every week, almost every week.
Yeah.
And I'm thrilled to have Eric on our network. So please, guys, go check them out. I'll have a link to all those below. And there's 2 videos that I mentioned today. If you haven't seen them, they're old, but they're still really fun. And it does make me want to redo one of those. Actually, I wonder, Eric, if you would be willing to, for a Build Show Network video, remake a version of these. Because I'd like to see your
awesome.
2022 take on what we did in 2018 or whatever it was.
I'm on it.
All right, I like it. Guys, if you're not currently a subscriber, hit that subscribe button below. You know we've got new content here every Tuesday and every Friday. Follow us on TikTok or Instagram. Otherwise, we'll see you next time on The Build Show.